Alright, hey guys, today's video is gonna be about 1325 up to 1370 gear progression in Tier 3. With Argos just around the corner, I figured that making a video right now about what sort of accessories you should prioritize would be a good thing. This video would not be covering tripods and gems, however, but I'll be going over what sort of accessories you should be aiming for and the engravings that you're going to take. In Tier 3, right, this one of the main questions that most people also have would be that, is this where Loyal Companion starts to get overtaken by Death Rate? That's a good question, and the simple answer is yes. This is when Death Rate actually starts to ramp up due to the amount of stat points that you can get. Examples being purple accessories, legendary accessories. I'm sure some of you that have already bought the accessories already realize that these accessories compared to blue ones, right, and compared to ones in Tier 2 and Tier 1, have much higher thresholds for the amount of ability points that they can gain. Like purple is like maybe here, and then blues is like here, right? It's like a chart pretty much. And the next thing is that you want to know values, right? People want to know values. Death rate versus loyal companion. By how much of a percentage is death rate going to be better than loyal companion? I cannot really give you an exact answer on this. The reason being is that from my own testings, right, death rate does maybe around 10% or close to 5 to 10% ish more than loyal companion in a target dummy setting. Okay, in a target dummy setting, loyal companion does around 5 to 10% lesser than death rate. But in a raid, that's very, very different. The reason for this is because in raids, this is when you start to see different bosses and different mechanics. You have different burst times, different intervals. Sometimes the boss will move a lot, sometimes you need to do mechanics. That's where Loyal Companion starts to fall off, right? Because you don't get... Loyal Companion is about doing consistent damage, always being consistent with your DPS, right? Basically having close to zero downtime when you go the agility build, pretty much. But when you go for death rate, however, death rate does burst damage in like a rhythm. Like whenever your hawk is up, you do damage and then it goes down again, right? You do damage, it goes up, and then it stays stagnant, no damage, nothing at all. And then you do damage again, it goes up, and then it goes down again, it goes up, it goes down again. You need to think of it like a rhythm game, pretty much. Playing Hawkeye death rate is just, you know, damage, stop. Damage, stop, pretty much. There's always go, and it's like a traffic light, you know, if you get what I mean. Green light, red light, green light, red light. Really simple. Okay, so what's the important things to set up once you are in 1325, right? Three of the most important things that you are going to now know and see would be tripods, engravings, and gems. These three things are going to be the main things that make up your damage in tier 3 from now on, all the way up to like legion rates and whatnot. Tripods, engravings, gems. These three things, most important things to set up. Grudge versus Hitmaster, the difference is actually very minuscule. There's almost close to no difference at all. It's just a 4% damage gain. So this really, you know, I think this really answers the question as to, do you need to run Grudge or not? Basically, I only suggest running Grudge if you're confident and you want to get used to it early. If you don't want to, it's fine. Go with Hitmaster, go with Curse Doll, maybe. Even Stabilize. Okay, Stabilize status has its downsides, but it's also a decent engraving to get and fairly cheap to buy too on the market, depending on what the market has. Okay, so back to the main topic. 3x2 setup for cheap that lasts till 1370, right? 1325 up to 1370. This is when you are able to buy your purple accessories. And ideally, you want to get a setup that is decent at least. Not horrible, but decent enough. And I think 3x2 is more than enough, or even 3x1. The reason why I say this is because you don't want to over-invest into purple accessories. Now, these three things actually scale quite differently depending on the quality they have. Some of the quality is pretty low, some of the quality is pretty high. If you look at the necklace, for example, a necklace quality scales extremely high from 0 to 100. The stat points that you get and you lose are actually huge when you look at it. But when you compare a ring, for example, it's not that bad of a difference. You don't drop off that many stat points. And this is also one of the reasons why death rate starts to overtake Loyal Companion, simply because now you have more skill points to work with, so you can gain more crit rate while having the necessary amount of specialty to gain back your hawk gauge at a consistent rate. So let's talk about the first one, right? Loyal Companion. What accessories do you go for, and what engraving books do you take, right? What I recommend for a majority of the community, if you don't want to run Grudge, would be Hitmaster or Grudge if you want to take it. You can go for Loyal Companion 3 if you have the epic books, right? This varies based on market. Right now on NA server, maybe you can see on the side of the screen right now that epic, rare, and the green books, right? Those are pretty expensive right now if you think about it. I'm not sure if they're really worth investing to right now. Personally, I have only bought the death rate books. I have not bought a single loyal companion book. Most of my loyal companions I always just get from accessories instead. So do think quite carefully if you're going to invest into loyal companion right now. The reason I'm saying this is because when you are in 1325 to 1370, most people already notice this by now, that your accessories do not drop class engraving, right? You can see it from the dungeon. People do not get class engravings in the current tier. Now, the reason why I'm saying you should use your books to get a class engraving right now, right, is because your accessories don't actually drop class engraving anymore. And depending on what the market is like, you might be able to get class engraving accessories on the market, right, for cheap, but they can be quite expensive depending on your supply and your server, you know, how in demand those accessories are. So this requires a little more research. There's no one shape fits all sort of like analogy, whatever the fuck that means. But yeah, there's no like I can't give you like a real solution to every single one of them. There's different answers for different people. You need to look at the market and consider, do you go for books or do you go for accessories with your class engraving? Check carefully which prices are worth more for you at the current given time. Let's say you decide to go with books, right? What you can do is that you can use 2 epic books pretty much. Like you can set them up like 2-2, so you get 18 points, right? You immediately gain Loyal Companion 15. And the next thing you can do is get a maybe Hitmaster and sub engraving stone, right? And you try to get Hitmaster to 5 notes pretty much. And all your accessories, all you have to do is just get Hitmaster 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, right? 2 times 5, 10, plus another 5 from your stone, you get 15. And voila, you have 3 by 3. This is the same thing for death rate, right? When you go for death rate, same thing. Hitmaster or Grudge if you're experienced. And then you go death rate 3, easy to set up from your books as well. And it's actually cheaper than Loyal Companion right now, a lot cheaper on NA East. I'm not sure about West and EU, however. However, the only one thing that you need to take note of when you run death rate is that the minimum setup required would be 2 wealth runes, right? This is the minimum required setup for you to play very comfortably. Would be 2 wealth runes, green and blue minimum. If you have a purple one, even better. And you put them on Dagger Slash, and you also put them on Blade Storm. And you also want 450 spec, 296 skill points minimum. So again, 2 wealth runes, green and blue, 450 spec, 296 skill points, so that you can get double slash at level 10. And that's when you can play death rate very comfortably. Now for death rate, you might be wondering, right, but what if you only have death rate level 1 and you have Hitmaster level 3, for example? Which one is more of a priority, right? Because I'm sure some of you have seen that death rate scales very highly, right? It starts with 20% damage gain, goes up to 30, and then goes up to 40% once it's at level 3. And yes, in theory, right, in a dummy test setup, death rate level 3 does way more damage than Hitmaster level 3. So in a sense, you could say that death rate is more of a priority engraving to get rather than Hitmaster. But the thing is, if you want to get death rate not by books, right? Let's say you don't want to buy the books at all for death rate, which I highly do not recommend at all. If you want to get it from the market, the cost of these accessories can go up from maybe 3k, 4k, 5k depending on what stat lines you need. So I do not recommend going for that route unless it's cheap in your server. If it's cheap in your server, then by all means, snatch it as fast as you can. And, like I said, go with what works for you in the current situation. Always check all your available options before making a decision. Like there's no, like I said, there's no one key fit all kind of theory here. It always depends on what works for you at the current time. Work with what you have and think about it for a while. Making accessories and engravings and stuff like that is meant to be taken step by step. You don't rush those things. things. If you rush, you end up regretting later on.